Welcome to Whale Tail Necklaces, presented by the Whaling Museum and Education Center of Cold Spring Harbor. Did you know? Whales are mammals just like us, but for thousands of years, lots of people thought whales were gigantic, monstrous fish. From the 1650s to the 1960s, whaling was one of the biggest industries in what is now the United States. We made oil for lamps and machines from the blubber on whales' bodies. And their baleen was turned into corsets, umbrellas, and fishing poles. Americans sailed around the world hunting whales. They believed their job was a life or death struggle with ferocious sea monsters. Not all people saw whales this way. The Shinnecock, who hunted whales on Long Island for thousands of years, have always known that whales were very special creatures. Unfortunately, American whalers didn't see things this way. When whaling captain Thomas Welcome Royce found bowhead whales in the Arctic, he called them newfangled monsters. Finally, about 60 years ago, things started to change. More people recognized how incredible whales are, and they also realized how much damage had been done by whaling. Today, there is an international injunction against whale hunting, which means that in most countries it is illegal to harm whales. Even though some countries like Norway and Japan ignore this rule, the biggest threat to modern whales isn't hunting. Today, most whales are killed by humans accidentally. They die in ship strikes, by eating ocean plastic, and from climate change. So, what can we do to help? You are never too young or too powerless to help. In fact, lots of change is happening because of teenagers. You may have heard of Greta Thunberg, the Swedish teen who has been challenging world leaders on climate change.
You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not.
But there are lots of others like her, like Addie Farmer and Lainey Randall. These 14-year-olds from Portland, Maine, challenged their community to clean up local beaches.
We live in Portland, Maine, which is surrounded by water. Trash litters our streets, parks, and beaches. Marine debris fills our oceans and shorelines, which harms marine life, ecosystems, and habitats. After learning this, we realized we needed to do something. We did tons of research and finally discovered an app by the NOAA called the Marine Debris Tracker. This app allows users to log and track trash they pick up. We set a goal for the Portland community to pick up 5,000 pieces of trash and log each one on the app. Over 30 people joined us, and at the end of the day, we collected almost 8,000 pieces of trash, most of which was picked up in one afternoon.
And just because you're too young to vote doesn't mean you're too young to have your voice heard. In 2015, 21 young people filed a lawsuit against the federal government for endangering the planet for future generations. The youngest person involved is 11 years old. The suit, known as Juliana versus the United States, is still making its way through the courts. And don't be afraid to dream up big ideas. When Boyan Slat was 16, he had an idea for an ocean cleanup system that would remove plastic without harming sea creatures. He founded his company, the Ocean Cleanup, at 18. Now, at age 23, his invention is cleaning up the Pacific Garbage Patch, a floating collection of plastic waste about 3 times the size of France.
So in order to solve a problem, you really first have to understand the problem. In the early days of the technology development, say 2014, 2015, it became rapidly apparent that we simply didn't know enough about the problem yet to be able to develop an optimal solution.
There are plenty of small steps you can take at home to help keep our oceans healthy. Use reusable water bottles and bags. Pick up trash wherever you see it in nature. And of course, reuse and recycle materials whenever possible. Which brings us to our craft. Today we're going to show you how to make a gorgeous necklace using recycled paper beads. The museum's craft kits have the following materials: paper strips, a wooden dowel, a whale tail necklace charm, lanyard, and a toothpick. You're going to need from home your own liquid glue and crayons or colored pencils, although these two are optional. Let's take a look at how to do this fun craft. First, you'll want to gather together your materials. So in addition to the paper strips and the dowel, you'll have a baggie with lanyard, a toothpick, some beads, and your whale tail necklace charm. Remember, you're also going to need liquid glue for this craft. And it's a good idea to get something like a plate or a paper towel to put just a little bit of glue on. You don't need much glue for this craft, and it's easiest to use it if you've got just a little dollop on something like a plate. This is also what your toothpick is for. So to make your beads, take your dowel and one of the strips of paper. And what you want to do is, starting with the wide end of the paper, wrap it around your dowel, just like this. Make sure to get it nice and tight as you roll it up. You want to also try to make sure that the paper is centered as you continue to roll. As the paper gets smaller and smaller, you'll start to see that your bead will start to look like an oval. Roll it all the way up until you've got just a little bit left there at the end. That's where you're going to put some glue. So grab the tiniest bit of glue on your toothpick and put it right where that tail of the bead is. You're going to want to hold it in place for about 5 seconds as it dries. After that 5 seconds, you can just slip your bead off your dowel. There's the hole there, and set it aside until you're ready to use it. If you make a bunch of these beads, you can add them to your necklace just like you would any other bead. If you want to, you can also use some of the beads that we've provided. Although your recycled paper beads will definitely be the star of the show. So string them on your necklace. Don't forget to add that whale tail charm. And once you've got as many beads as you want on, and in the order that you want them, you can just tie the two ends of your lanyard together like this and enjoy your necklace. Now, there are lots of other ways you can jazz up these beads, like adding color. To add color to your beads, all you need are some colored pencils and crayons, and some paper like the ones we've given you, newspaper pieces. Paper with just writing on it works best. And since only the edge of your bead is going to show because you're going to roll it up, all you need to do is add some color right along the edges of one strip of paper. Colored pencils work really well for this. Crayons work as well. Depending on the paper that you have, if it's newspaper paper, markers won't work as well. They're really too wet and they might make the paper fall apart. So once you've got the colors you want, you just do the same thing. You put your paper wide end first around the dowel and roll it up, trying to keep the paper as even in the center as you roll as possible so that all of that lovely color shows on either side. So continue rolling until you get to the end, and then just like before, take a little bit of glue, put it on that tip, stick it together and hold for about 5 seconds. And you can see how much more colorful that bead is because we added that colored pencil. And there you go. You can do the same thing with many different colors. This is a really fun look, so you can really control just what your necklace looks like by adding your own colors. So that's one option for jazzing up your paper beads. There are plenty of other things you can do, like use magazine paper. This will give you very colorful, very shiny beads. Cut them up into strips, just like the strips that we've given you. And starting with the wide end, roll them up. Again, because of the magazine paper, you're going to end up with really, really shiny, very brightly colored beads. Make sure you use some glue and stick them together. Ta-da! If you have any leftover wrapping paper lying around, this is another great option, especially because this paper tends to be really colorful and fun. So again, you just need to take wrapping paper, cut it into strips, and you can roll it up just like you did with all of the other beads. Like magazine paper, wrapping paper usually gives you a pretty shiny, brightly colored bead, so it's a fun option to try if you've got some lying around. It's also a great way to use up those leftover scraps. If you want to get really fancy, you can add some shine to your beads using clear nail polish. To do this, you want to take your nail polish, leave your bead on the dowel after you roll it up and glue it, and then brush a layer of nail polish all over the outside of the bead. This trick also makes the beads a lot more waterproof, so if you think you're going to wear your necklace outside, this is a good option. Then leave your bead somewhere where it can dry without touching a surface. Then when that's done, just add a second coat. You can really add as many coats as you like, but you want to put at least 2 layers on to make sure that you've got a nice shiny bead. And then again, let it dry. So you can see here we've got the bead with nail polish on the left and one that's plain on the right. You can see the difference. The bead with the nail polish is so much shinier. So there are your options. What kind of beads are you going to make? So thanks so much for watching. This brings us to the end of our program. We hope you had a good time learning about whales and what you can do to help them today and making your fun necklace. We hope to see you soon.